talk to someone out there who is struggling to make that decision, even though they know what God wants them to do. What are some of the things that made you take those steps, even with trembling knees, towards the direction that God was pointing you?
Well, I don't want to minimize that, for your listeners, that there is always anxiety that comes with it. If we think, oh, okay, I'm going to be a Christ follower now, things are going to go so smoothly. And that just isn't the way that it works. And so there is anxiety. So if you're feeling anxiety because you're making a tough decision, or you feel called, but you just don't think you can follow through, that's actually very normal. And I do tell stories in the book where others were encouraging me to serve, and it sounded like a great thing. A Bible study teacher wanted me to lead a small group, and it sounded great. And she just knew that was my calling. And Mike and I prayed about it. I prayed about it, and I said, that is not my calling right now. I do not want to do that. Even though it's a very worthy cause. I told her my kids at that time were 2, 3, and 4. And I said, my ministry is Michael, Charlotte, and Audrey. But I do encourage the reader that if you do think you're called to something, to not be afraid to take that risk. One of the verses that was one that we really loved in the very first campaign was in Jonah 2:8. Those that cling to worthless idols forfeit the grace that could be theirs. We were newly married. We had our little bungalow house, and we didn't want to give up that little house. And it was tough to jump into the very first congressional race, which was 1988. And I think back, what if we hadn't let go of that worthless idol of that home? I wouldn't have had all of these experiences that I talk about in the book. And so it's worth it if you feel like God is calling you. That's why the subtitle of the book is Experiencing God's Grace in His Calling for Your Life. He will give you that grace.